I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're speaking with author Donna V Batt. She is an author from Idaho who is known for creating thought-provoking narratives. Her novel, Glacier House, depicts a profound journey of resilience with a strong emphasis on assisting victims of human trafficking. Donna's background as a mental health counselor and her deep-rooted faith significantly shape the emotional depth and inspirational themes that you will find in this wonderful book. We are delighted to have Donna in the spotlight today. We thank the folks at Pro Isle Publishing for helping us put her in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support writers like her by subscribing to our channel. Donna, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Great to have you. This is an incredible book. A lot of people hear the term human trafficking all the time, but your book goes into depth about it and exposes it on a level I think most people, most readers don't know about. How do you know so much about human trafficking? Is it from dealing with people who are victims of it, or doing research, or both?
It's probably both. When I wrote the first book, which is when they actually broke up the human trafficking gang, I did some reading. I had worked with a couple of clients who had almost been caught into the human trafficking. They had gotten out of it just in time. And then I did the research and, just looking at information about what it is and knowing the human psyche of when you're trapped in a situation and you don't have an out and what that does to you and stuff like that. So that's kind of how I brought some of that in with the victims.
Human trafficking, does it affect minors, adults, runaways? Is there a typical victim?
No, it is across the board. Many of your children that go missing today, that's what is happening with them, but also teenagers, young adults. One client I work with, she was 22 years old, and the guy was setting her up and let's go take a trip, and then things started feeling weird and and then even adults probably at my age, nobody's interested, okay, but the younger people that can do that, and a lot of your runaways, because they're easy victims, people who come from a solid home who make sure that they know where their child is and who their child's with and that kind of thing are less likely, but that doesn't mean that it can't happen to them too.
So basically, it's the vulnerable population, whether that's
Absolutely.
immigrants, legal or illegal, young
Yes.
people who have problems at home, runaways, those who are dependent on alcohol or drugs.
Yes.
Tell the
All of
folks
those
at
play
home,
into it. Yeah.
all of the above, absolutely.
Yeah.
Tell the folks at home what your book, Glacier House, is about.
Well, Glacier House is the second of the series. From Glacier Highway is the first one. But after they break up the human trafficking ring, the main character, Jake, his brother helped break that up. And he went into one of the situations where there was a young man that had been human trafficked into first real sexual stuff, and then actually making him in a fighting ring where they had to beat on each other for other people's pleasure. And he walked in this broken person, and he saw that, and he realized that even though they had stopped these people from these people and getting the victims out, that it would be a really long road back, that you can't go from being a human trafficked person, whether it's sexual or some other way, under someone's total control. And you can't go back to that. You just go back into your life and, oh, happy day, I'm home and everything's wonderful again. And so he decided he needed to do something about that. And so that's the book that he created. He took this old schoolhouse and is making it into a place where people can come, whether it's short-term or long-term, and they can come into it and they can learn social skills, because they have learned no social skills. When you're human trafficked, you do whatever they tell you to do. Right. So you don't learn how to interact with people, or you don't have, if you're a kid and you're captured, then you don't get any schooling. I mean, it's not like your schooling goes on, that you go on and get into high school and all that kind of stuff. It's done. And so those kind of factors of how can they go into the world then, and then what kind of skills are they going to have, the security of knowing that people are there to hear them and listen to them and help them make decisions. And sometimes families can do that, but often families are still stuck in that, my child was taken at 4 years old or 5 years old or 7 years old. And now they're back and everything's wonderful. And they don't understand the trauma that this child has gone through, and the fact that they haven't been able to make decisions and stuff. And so the book is about his journey and helping people do that, and then bringing in the other characters that can walk alongside of him and help him.
Yeah. People don't realize, parents don't realize that getting your child back, probably as an adult, is only one step of the journey.
Absolutely.
But these people are
Absolutely.
basically deprived, mentally,
Yes.
physically abused, drug addicted, alcohol dependent. So they're getting
Yes.
back a very damaged person, unfortunately. And
Yes.
just like somebody getting
Yes.
out of jail needs to
Mhm.
have
Exactly.
access back to finding out what real life is all about, so do victims of human trafficking.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Tell us
Exactly.
about Trish. You build a big part of your novel around
Okay.
her. She's leaving a
Um,
violent relationship. Tell us
so
about
even with,
her. I'm sorry.
go ahead.
I said, tell us about her and tell us about the creation of her character.
Okay. Along with human trafficking, I also wanted to bring in domestic abuse and that kind of thing with control. And Trish is the character in the first stages of the book. She has been in a relationship with someone and realizes that it's not real healthy. And so she tries to get out of it. And then he starts going after her and controlling her. And she has to eventually flee because, unfortunately, in real life, people who are in situations like this, you can put a restraining order on somebody, and that doesn't mean they're not going to hurt you or not going to come after you. And so she actually flees the situation so that she can get away from him, so that she can get control of her life back.
Yeah. Unfortunately, restraining orders are often a trigger for an abusive person,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. The most critical time in an abusive relationship like that is when the victim tries to get away. That's the most chance of them getting hurt or killed is during that time. Yes.
And apparently, and obviously, I guess you found a lot of similarities to people who are victims of human trafficking and victims of domestic abuse.
Yes. Yes. I think in our world, I mean, the human trafficking is an extreme.
Mhm.
The domestic violence is extreme. But I mean, when you look around our world, people trying to control other people are everywhere. And so I think part of it was I wanted to bring in the fact that, people don't have a right to control us. We're in charge of us. And no one else has a right to tell us what we have to do, what we need to do, whatever. That they can give us advice, but it's not up to them to tell us what to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. Autonomy is so important to somebody who has
Absolutely.
been abused or mistreated. Tell us a little bit
That's right.
about how your experience as a mental health counselor contributed to writing these characters and portraying them in the book.
Well, I think I was a counselor for over 30 years. And I think as you work with people, you get to know what triggers them, you get to know how they think, how they feel. And it just sort of brought it all together as I'm writing. By the time I'd worked with it 30 years, every situation I went into with counseling, there was a pattern you went with because of knowing human behavior and how people are emotionally hurt, and most people just need to be heard and need to be loved and need to feel secure. And so that just helped with the characters and building them that way. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a common thread in the needs of people who are thrust
Mhm.
into lives like this, similar to
Yes.
gangs. People have a need for
Yes.
a
Yes.
family, a
Mhm.
structure, a
Yes.
belonging.
We all
Now,
crave to belong.
yeah,
I mean, that's just a natural human thing. We want to belong somewhere. And so, when you get into these kinds of situations, sometimes that's what draws them to those situations. But
absolutely.
understanding that you can belong and not be controlled, that's
Right.
huge. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, Glacier House, as you mentioned, involves a transformation of an old school into a safe haven. Is there some symbolism behind this, that it was a school first and now it's a safe haven?
I don't know as I necessarily picked that up. I was just thinking of a big building where you could have the rooms for people to sleep in and have rooms to train in and but you could have also common places where they could be a family together.
Hmm.
So I think the school was just, oh, that's a big building. And I've always thought it would be kind of fun to convert an old school into something else. I always thought that would be a fun thing to do.
Exactly. And intended or unintended, maybe subconsciously, also
Yeah.
it was about re-education.
Yes.
These
Yes.
people needed to learn about living again, and that was
Yes.
done in school. So that's quite interesting. Have you
Yeah.
heard from any victims of human trafficking or domestic abuse since you've been writing on these issues?
I have not heard from any yet. I have heard from an agency that's working with them.
Mhm.
And they're working with a lot of India and in that area. But I got some information from them and got a little booklet on kind of their witnessing of what they're doing. So I thought that was interesting that somebody must have read the book or heard about the book, that from India that did that. Project
Absolutely.
Hope or something like that it's called.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
Well, the name of the book is Glacier House. It is written by Donna Batt. It is an amazing book that shows a profound journey of resilience as she writes about victims of human trafficking and a very, very unique solution that she finds in her book, one that we could use in real life for sure. That solution was also called Glacier House. She's also written another book, which is the first book in this series. And Donna, that one is called Glacier Highway?
Glacier Highway.
Glacier Highway. And they
Yeah.
are both available online anywhere you buy books, and they are
Yes.
highly recommended. Donna, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you so much. I had a good time. Thank you.
Great talking to you as well. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.